other day, okay, where we had finished functions in Terraform, right?
Correct. Like you said, there are a couple of functions.
We have
Um,
already used, and that's the
right,
same syntax.
right.
Okay, fine. So we'll start with loops in Terraform. Okay,
Yeah.
and yeah, and we'll see dynamic block in Terraform. Other day we saw one of the places how dynamic block is used, like dynamically generate some contents and all. Okay,
Mhm.
that one we'll see. But before that, what I want to show you is, you remember other day you had asked, there are variables.tf in when we are using modules. There are variable.tf in a configuration file level, as well as variable.tf within the application from where we'll be calling, right? Let me take you back to the slide.
Correct.
Modules we were discussing, right? Yeah, here. Uh, so yeah, so what I told is we would be having variable.tf here uh, in the generic configuration. So whatever we want to make it configurable, we'll be making it configurable by using variable, and there will be a variable.tf which will define those variables. Okay, and now you had a question like even within app1 and all we can have variable.tf. Okay, I told you, right? Okay, I'll come with an example where we have variable.tf at both places, right?
Yep.
Okay, so now see. Okay, that demo we'll have, then we'll move to our concept of loops. Okay,
Yeah.
uh, fine. So here, let's say you remember the other day use case where we had one generic two apps which would be calling S3 S3 module, which is a generic one. Okay, and I told app1 and app2. App1 would be having EC2 and S3. App2 would be having Lambda and S3. Okay, now EC2 and Lambda, these have not been written in any configuration. Let's say they are not in modules and all. You have written it here within app1 and all. Even they may be using some variables, right? Those variables and all we can define in a variable file which is there at the app level. Okay, so now let me
Mhm.
take you to an example of that. Okay, here, same one. I have a generic bucket, okay, where I have main.tf, where I have the configuration of my S3, okay, my S3 bucket name and my type of bucket, whether it is public or private, that thing is parameterized, okay. So now, okay, so now, okay, those things are parameterized. So if we go to the Terraform, sorry, if we go to the variables.tf at a generic level, we'll see the name of the bucket and the public private, whether it is public or private. Those two are the variables which are used in my definition of in my configuration of the bucket, and those two are present in the variable. Now let me go to a place where these would be called, right, inside application app1.
Mhm.
Okay, now in app1, if I open my main.tf, now I have two resources here. Okay, first one which calls my S3 bucket, that is a module. Okay, so this one is not using any variable because it will call module and it will pass the values as an argument. Okay, the public, private, and the bucket name is going in as an argument. So we don't need a variable here, but I have one more resource also here. Okay, which is AWS instance. Okay, this one also has certain variables.
Mhm.
Okay, dep environment variable is being used here. Now, where will this variable be defined? It has to go into a variable file which is in parallel to this definition. So here, if I look into my variable.tf, I will have all other informations apart from the bucket. Okay, I'll have the provider information, I'll have the one which is needed for my other resource, EC2 class and dep environment. These are needed for my EC2. Those will be defined here. So this is a variable.tf file which is at this level. Okay, if I take you back, it is at app level.
Yep.
Okay, so now let's go and try to execute this one. Okay, it's been 3-4 classes. I think today or tomorrow I'll zip the projects which we have. I'll put them into a good naming convention so that you can understand. I'll send you the project script so that you can take a look into them. Also the slides I'll be sending you. Okay, maybe tomorrow I'll ask them to upload. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So now here you see here's the S3 bucket. Okay, which is coming from your generic definition. Okay, for app 1 we have the name, we have the ACL as public read and all, which came in from the definition where we are calling the module. Okay, but now I also have an EC2 instance that also will get created. That will be my, okay, I'm sorry, that will be one above bucket where I have my EC2 instance. Okay, so the variable from for my EC2 instance, those were taken from a variable.tf file which is at the level of app1. Okay,
Yep.
so does this clear up thing? We can have, so as per our requirement, the variable.tf which is at a module level, at a generic level, that will contain only the variable definitions which are there in the generic configuration. It won't contain any other variable. But whereas when you call them from another TF file, any additional variable which is being used there, maybe which are being used for provider.tf or which are used for any other resource which is not there in generic configuration, for them you have to define the variable at the lower level, like at the application level. Okay,
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
fine. So
Yep.
that clarifies the things, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
okay, yeah, welcome. Chalo, then let's move ahead with other concepts now. Okay, so now as with this, we will be moving to loops in Terraform. Okay, so Terraform lets you use the loop. Okay, so couple of loops which are supported by Terraform. One is something called as count, other is for, another is for each. There is also one more thing, dynamic. Okay, it uses for and for each. Will I have dynamic is a little it has little more to understand, so I have kept it different, not in the same page. So first let's look into these three simple ones. Okay, so count is something, what it does is if you put a count in a particular resource block, okay, so whatever value you'll put that, so it will repeat that resource block that many times.
Yeah.
Okay, for example, you remember I don't know, did I ever use the count? Yeah. In one of the condition clauses, I have used this count. If dev equals to, if dep environment dev count equals to 1, else
Correct.
count equals to 2, like that. Okay, so what it does is if you see this block, okay, this block of code, I have put it in
Yep.
one of the AWS resource, that is AWS instance. Okay, I have just simply put count 3. So what it is going to do is this resource, exact configuration resource, it is going to repeat it for 3 times.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
so that's the function of count.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go for next one, for loop. What it does is if you have a list or map, it loops through the values of that and creates another list. Okay,
Okay.
so for example, if you look into this one, the one which is on the right hand side, I have a uh, I have a variable bucket names, okay, where we have three bucket names: Sam bucket, Tom bucket, and Raf bucket. Okay, so then what it does is it creates a output block, okay, where it uses the for block for name in this particular variables. You make all those uppercase. So what it will do is it will output all the uppercase values of these three, and the output would be one list again. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so what it does is basically it will be looping through a list or a map. There you use the for loop where you have to loop through something. Okay, then next one is for each. For each goes the line further, goes another line further. So what it can do is it can it can loop over, okay, loop over the resources or even inline blocks of code. So what I mean by that is if you use for each inside a resource, okay, that resource can be repeated multiple times depending. Suppose there is a list and you use the for each over that list in a particular resource, then for every item in that list, the resource definition would be repeated. That can be done. And second thing is, if a particular within a resource, particular block of code is there which you want to repeat multiple times, even that can be repeated using this one. So the second one, I will show you using the concept of dynamic. Okay, the first one you can see here. What I have done,
Right.
okay, this same example, what I have done is I have taken a list of string, okay, which is bucket name Sam, Tom, and Ralph bucket. Then below I have created a resource S3 bucket for each bucket name. Okay, what I'm doing is bucket name I'm putting the value, okay,
Mm-hmm.
using this for each loop. Okay, ACL I'm keeping it private for everything. Okay, so you see nowhere I have written for loop outside the resource. Okay,
Yeah.
only inside the resource I have written the for each, and I've given the bucket name a value. And what it is going to do is it is going to repeat my bucket creation three times. Like it will create me three buckets.
Yep.
Okay, each with value Sam bucket, Tom bucket, and Ralph bucket, like that. Okay,
Yes.
so here what
Yes.
it did, it repeated the resource for me. Okay,
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
there is one more thing I told you, it can repeat the inline blocks also. Now example of that you can see here. I'll go to dynamic in details, but just I'll show you an example. You remember we have these rules in security group, ingress and egress rules.
Correct.
Okay, so even within the proper even within the security group resource, this block up, okay, let me take you to an example of security group.
So it is something like not only repeating the entire resource
It
based
can
on
repeat a
for
block
each,
of line also,
within the
yeah.
block within the resource, a block can also be repeated
Correct,
multiple times. Okay.
correct. So here I'll show you. Let's see one security group. Okay, so see this ingress rule. Okay, ingress rule, right? Now you are seeing for port 22 I have written an ingress rule. Okay, let's say I need for port 23, 24, and 25. So I can repeat this three times, this block of code, right? Or else I can use dynamic to generate them. Okay, so
Uh,
here what it is happening is it's not repeating the entire resource for me, rather a block of code within a resource that is getting repeated for me. Okay, using for each.
yeah,
So we'll see this one when we see dynamic. Okay, I'll take
correct.
you in detail for,
So
but
now
for
the variable dot web ports, you just declare as a regular variable and then you're calling as a subblock within a
so with
resource block.
what I'm doing is web ports I'm declaring as a list variable, okay, which has multiple values. comma separated values, okay, like an array or something. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm calling a block. Within that block, I'm using the concept of dynamic and for each, and I'm looping over the web ports. Okay, I'm looping
Yep.
over the web ports within that block. So now the
Yep.
resource will be one, but that line of code, that block of code within the resource, it will be repeated multiple times for me.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's for each. Okay, so three types we have seen. Okay, now let's take a look into, is it clear, Anand? We have
Oh,
count, for,
oh,
and for each. Okay, count is
correct.
exactly the same resource repeated multiple times. Okay, for is you loop over a list of values and create another list using a function or something. Let's say you loop over a list of small case usernames, and you output a list which has all capital case usernames, like that, those
Yeah.
kind of things. Okay,
Yeah.
now for each, it can be used to repeat a resource with a minimal, with some change in the configuration. Okay, because each element of the for each loop, that can go in as a value into the configuration, so the entire configuration can be repeated, resource can be repeated multiple times, or with the help of dynamic and all, we can even repeat a particular block of code or particular inline code within the resource multiple times.
Yep.
Okay, so now let's go to dynamic. So dynamic is a block of code which again can be considered as a loop in Terraform. Okay, so it, with the use of for each, okay, it helps us create repeatable blocks of similar types in resource. So now, as I told you, blocks of resource, blocks of code within a resource. Okay, a similar type of block of code within a resource can be can be created multiple times. So one of the best examples is Ingress or Egress rules in a security group. Okay, so you can even you have rules in knuckles. When you create a knuckle, you have rules also. There the rules also can be repeated. Okay, and let me think what else example we can have here. Um, these two are coming as the best example to my mind. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I think, yeah, these kind of the rules wherever are there, there we can use this inline blocks can be repeated. Okay, so dynamic. So now you see the dynamic, right, what it is. Okay,
Yep.
okay, so now this is how it looks like. Okay, we can have a variable, okay, a list type variable, then within a particular resource, if you want to repeat a block of code. Okay, so what we are trying to do is, what I'm trying to do here is, I will be creating ingress rules, one for port 443, another one for port 80, but my ingress rule will be applicable to same IP range. Okay, for example, let's say I want to open up 10 different kind of ports from uh, a public for for public usage. Okay, so public usage is always 0.0.0.0/0. The CIDR is going to remain the same. Okay, and my
Mm-hmm.
protocol type is always going to remain the same, TCP. Okay, only thing which should vary is my port. Okay, so what I can do is, just for changing the port value, 10 different port values, instead of writing 10 different blocks for blocks of rule, I can have one block written, and I can use those particular list values which are differing, those particular values which are differing from a list, I can loop over them, right? So it would be entire block created for 443 ones, everything would be same except for from port to port. The value would be taken from this web ports list variable. Similarly, the second value of web post list variable 80 would be used as from port and to port, and other things will remain same. Right?
Yep.
Understood
Yep.
that?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I'm very clear on this. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yes, within the
Okay.
resource, if you would like to have any particular block need to be have a different range of values, then we can use, instead of having a number of ingress blocks, you can have one ingress block, and then within that you can use a for each to change a certain values, right? It may be the port
Exactly.
number, it may be whatever. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So usually, yeah, it would be, yeah, exactly. As you said, it would be the port number or something. You can use that.
correct. So yeah, that's a for the for and for each. The difference is for cannot be used within the block, the resource block, whereas the for each uh, can use within the resource block. Is that another
So yeah,
difference?
I'll tell you in a very high level you understand it. For basically will be used when you want to create a list out of other list or map variables, and you
Yeah,
want to change, you want to apply a function or something. Let's say I'll give you one example. Okay, there is a map variable. Okay, where you have a key value pair like region AMI. Okay, region 1 AMI 1, region 2 AMI 2, region 3 AMI 3 is there. Okay, now you want to create a tag, okay, which contains a value which is concatenation of region and the AMI, corresponding AMI. So what you will do
yeah,
is you will write a for loop. You will first have a map defined, okay, which will take a key of the region, value of the AMI. Okay, now you use a for loop on that map. Okay, you use the concatenation function. Okay, and you generate a list of string. Okay,
yeah,
and each value in that list of string would be a concatenation of your region and AMI. Okay,
correct.
so the end product of the for loop would be another list, okay, whose every value is a concatenation of your region and the AMI, corresponding AMI, which is defined in
Correct,
the map function. Okay, so these are the
correct.
scenarios where you have to generate another list, you by iterating over a existing list or iterating over a existing map function. Basically you will go for.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good. Yeah.
and then but when you have a resource to be repeated, or you have a block of code to be repeated within a resource, basically you would be preferring the for each one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, does
Got
that
it.
make things clear? Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
those are basically the use cases where we would be using them. Okay, fine. So let's take a quick look into the uh, demo of this one. Okay, the loops. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, so this is we are doing session
I think
5,
six
right?
is.
What I did it? No, no, session 5 only it was supposed to. Session 5, second half. I think half we had done. Okay, so
Okay.
I'll make it session 5B. Okay. Let me take ec2.tf, provider.tf, security group, device, variable.tf. So now let's look into the configuration of my ec2.tf. Okay, fine. So here I'm using count. Okay, if I am having, there is a dep environment, okay, which is a variable. If I have that, so let me make it simple. Let me remove this. Okay, we are looking into count demo, so let's do count demo. Let's not go into the conditions. We have already seen conditions, so it's okay. Let's keep this simple. AMI is there, instance type is there, security groups are there. Wait. Okay, fine. So now what it would do is I have used count. Okay, so it is going to whatever is there. Okay, so whatever is there, I'll remove the provisioner. It will create confusion. We'll put provisioner when we are doing provisioner. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So whatever is there, it is going to create this that many times.
Correct.
Okay, the entire resource block. It's not going to change. Even the name and everything is going to remain same. Okay, it is blindly going to repeat the things.
Yep.
Okay, so now I'll tell you a catch. So let's say you use the count, okay, in a S3 bucket. Okay,
That's right. Yeah, it's going to be have a
what will be the
duplicate bucket
what
which
will be
is
the
not
problem?
allowed, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, then what will you do that? What you can do is count comes with the index.
Right. Okay. Count index. Okay. Yep. I remember
Okay,
that.
I'll, yeah, so what will you do is you can use the index here
Yeah.
in the name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that indexing will change the name. Getting me?
Yep. Yep.
So now what I'll do is when I'll show you when we create this resource, okay, it will be, it will come. So the counts value, if you web dot count, if you put it right, it will change the name. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's the only way. So that's a solution which you can use in bucket. So what I will do is I'm not going to put it in the demo. Okay, I'll leave it for you to do once.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have given
Sure.
you the concept.
Yeah.
You can try it. Okay, in the demo I'll keep it same. I have given you there is a problem and it can be overcome by using index on the count. Okay, so you can
Yeah.
try that. Okay,
Yeah.
so now
Yeah.
let's see this. Okay, I have EC2 now. Okay, what we can do is I can EC2.tf, remove security group, right? At the time being. Okay, let it be here. Okay, now let's do one thing. Before I execute this one, let me show you the for each also. Okay, I am not putting for in the demo because as I told, for is pretty simple thing. Okay, it's just if I go back here, for is pretty simple where you just get another list, looping over this list and giving some using some functions or something. Okay, I am taking you through these two demos. Okay, where
Yeah.
count, where we have multiple resource created, and I'll take you through the for each and dynamic concept where we repeat a block of code. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good to
so
me. Yeah.
now,
Mm.
yeah, so now if you need that, if you, so what you can do is you can still go ahead and try for by
Yeah.
yourself.
Right.
Easy
Right.
one. In case there is a problem or something, we can do a demo again.
Oh,
Okay,
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
okay, fine. So now let's see. Let's look into here. My EC2, it uses security groups. Okay, so now let's look here. Okay, I have one ingress rule. Okay, right, sorry, start here and here. Yeah, I have a resource security group by the name Aws SSH. Okay, it has an ingress rule which allows port 22 over for all the IPs. Okay, and my name is SSH from anywhere. Okay, now if I have port 23, 24, 25, what I can do is I can repeat this block that many times and I'll just change the value. Okay,
Right.
which is ideally not a good coding practice, or else even if it is, you have less number of ports, you will be okay, will be okay doing that block. But if you have multiple, then as I told, dynamic can be used. Okay, you just write it once, use it multiple times. So here I have created another security group. Okay, this is just to differentiate. Okay, just to show you the comparison I have created. So we can club it together in one itself, we could have done. Okay, but to show you the difference, I am creating another security group. Okay,
Yeah.
this security group's name is allow web. Okay, and from web I can have request from HTTP as well as HTTPS. So port 80 and 443 both. Okay, so what I have done is, if we go to our variables.tf, I have created a variable by the name web port. Okay, and I have given it two values.
The
Okay,
list, yeah.
443 and HTTP and HTTPS. Now what I will do is, now what my aim is to have this configuration for two ports. So everything remains same. Okay, this remains same, TCP remains same. Only thing is the from port to port changes. That will take a value, either that will take 443 and another block it should take 80. Okay, so what I will do is, instead of creating ingress, I'll create a dynamic ingress. Okay, it's a looping concept, and I'll use for each over the variable web ports. Okay, this is the variable which I have defined. Okay, so it is going to loop through variable, and I'll have to define a content block. Okay, this block would be repeated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now an ingress will be created with, like, a multiple ingress would be created with these values, where protocol and CIDR block as they are hard coded, and this description, three things as they are hard coded. For all my blocks, they will remain same. Only thing which is going to vary is this. What I am taking, the ingress. Okay, I am setting it from, I am associating the ingress with web port. Now ingress will be repeated, and ingress for every iteration, ingress dot value will have the value taken from the list over which it is iterating.
Yep.
Okay, so this syntax is little tricky. Okay, I have explained you the syntax. I'll share the code. You can
Yep.
take a
Yeah.
look into the syntax, you will get it. Okay,
Correct.
okay,
Correct. See, this is like the concept. Once we understand, we have a
yeah,
syntax ready-made, right? We just need to
yes,
follow the
yes,
syntax and
yes,
get it
yes,
done. Yeah.
correct.
The number one is
So
we need to see the use case, how exactly it fits in. If it is like a two or three, hey, better to repeat the code so that you don't need to worry about the syntax. Suppose, say, for example, if they have like a 10 ingress ports, instead of repeating 10 times the block, this is the way we can write it. So,
correct,
like
correct.
how the beautification of the programs. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
But the
So
concept wise, I am clear. So here it also going to create two resources, like a
yes.
443 and 22. Um, but only the advantage is you are writing a single resource block that will repeat twice with the different values.
No, no. Here, see, resource block is not going to repeat. Resource block will be single only. Within that, the ingress rule is going to, the ingress block will be repeated.
And the ingress
Okay,
blocks will be created twice, right?
twice within the same resource. So
Is it?
overall, if you see here, there are going to be two resource block. One which will create a security group which allows SSH. Another which will create me a security group which allows web. Okay, now within allow web, I have used dynamic. So it will create two ingress blocks. Okay, one for HTTP, one for HTTPS. So in
Yep.
total, I have two security groups, one allowing SSH, other one allowing 443 and 8080.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
now let's go ahead. Here is, let me init this. Oh, sorry, what I'm writing.
Yeah, yeah. This is a good example. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. I don't see in my code we don't use for each anywhere. Yeah, but we use the count frequently. Like for various environments, we define the count and we use the condition to repeat the
Mm-hmm.
code and execute. Yeah,
Fine. So there will be certain, see, there will be certain things which you don't use. As I told, right? People don't prefer using many things. People try to keep things simple. Unless and until I would badly need dynamic, I am not going to put dynamic anywhere in my
correct.
code
That's what I mean.
because it is
Yeah.
bit confusing. Because it is bit confusing. So see, what I feel is architecting is always a trade-off. Okay,
Hmm.
always a trade-off between there one thing can be done in five different ways. Okay,
Yeah.
somewhere complexity will be more and you better follow coding standard. Someone thinks that, okay, i can I can compromise a bit with coding standard here, which will reduce my complexity by 80%, so I will
Correct.
compromise with the coding standard. So it's an architect's call usually, what are the
Yeah.
trade-offs they are going to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Similarly, if you see in AWS itself, there are five pillars of well-architected framework. Okay, cost is there. Two of the pillars, cost and your, let's say, what is that one?
Yeah. I remember.
Reliability, cost and reliability. See, these are
Yeah.
always inversely proportional. Okay, if there is a requirement, if there is a requirement that it's okay, our application can bear a downtime of 3-4 hours because it's an internal application used by internal teams. If the application is down, there is no business impact. But my reliability says that I have to make it multiple AZ, I have to make availability of I have to use auto scaling and everything. Whereas my business requirement says that it's okay, I can afford a downtime. So
Yeah.
so you have to do a trade-off here. Like, okay, I'll have to give up availability, I'll have to save my cost here because the business can afford a downtime of 3-4 hours. So this is a trade-off. So
Yeah.
everywhere, even here, while you are deciding, you are writing on certain configurations and all, some place you feel like the coding standard is way too complex here, it will be difficult for someone to maintain. And what advantage does it do? It helps me to avoid only 5 lines of code, and I would
Yeah.
keep it simple. I'll write that 5 lines of code. But again, if there is a chance that those lines of code would be repeated multiple times, you should make it repeatable, then you should select the complex thing over the simplicity, because there would be multiple iterations, or there is an expectation of multiple iteration. So it's all basically a trade-off. Fine, so let's see.
Yeah.
Terraform plan. Come on. Okay, here you see we have four resources, two coming from the count. Okay, we had EC2, right? Now if you go here, as I told you, see, there is indexing now in instance web 0,
Hmm.
and there would be web 1. web1. Okay, and if you see, the resources are exactly the same. Let's see the tag names. Okay, I didn't change anything. I didn't use the concept of index so that I can show you it just blindly replicates. Let me search for the tag where it is. Tags. Okay, you see my tag name is web. Okay, in the first
Yeah.
EC2. Even if I go to my second EC2, my tag name would be web itself. But if I had used the index, okay, web hyphen count, then it would have put count 0, count 1 like that. Okay, I'm sorry, let me go up. I missed it somewhere. The tag. Okay, here. See the tag names again, web
Yep.
only. No change. It's a repetition, exact repetition. Okay. Now there would be two security groups, as I said. Okay. One, the normal one, which allows SSH. That is for this same CIDR block, 22 only allowed. Okay. Second one is allow web.
So, is there any
Okay.
chance you can
Now,
make the screen bigger, like minimize?
okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. Can you see now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Still, some
Okay.
of the area
So
is
now,
covering, but I don't know whether that's a max size from your side. But it looks good. Yeah. I think some of the things, maybe recording those things, you can move it to the side, but I think now
okay,
it's clear.
let me
It's not
try this.
that bad. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So as I said, yeah. So two security groups. One is allow SSH, okay, which has this port 22 only for CIDR block 0.0.0.0.0/0 that is allowed to the public. Okay, and my second security group, this is one security group, but because of dynamic, we have two ingress blocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
With
so the
the
resource
different
didn't get
ports.
repeated. Yeah, resource didn't get repeated. What
Yep.
got repeated is a block of code within the resource.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
so okay, great. So now close this one. So what Anand, your side you can try is one, the for loop, okay, simple variables output and all. And
And the
second thing
index as
is
well.
no, use the for each, okay, to create S3 bucket. Use the for
Yeah.
each to create
Yeah.
S3 bucket. Like this one is not repetition of inline code. It is a repetition of resource. These things you can try.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, I'll share the PPT anyways. These
Yeah.
things you can try. Okay, so the block repetition we saw, you just can try the resource repetition using for each. There you
Yep.
don't need dynamic. Okay, you can just put for each, and within the resource, one of the properties which you need to be taken from a loop, from a list over which you have to loop through, that you can use. Okay, the name of the bucket each dot value we have put. Okay, that will loop over this one. Here we have created for each.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yep.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this one brings us to the end of session 5 agenda. Okay. Now I hope things are clear, right, Anand? Whatever
Oh,
we
this is
discussed till
very,
now.
yeah, this is clear. Yeah. Because in programming, so we are talking about, like, the looping concepts,
Yeah,
how the Terraform will support in various ways, right? One is
yeah,
like a static loop. You can repeat your resources with a count, with a number, and then you can use like a for loop, or you can use like a for each. So three different key areas where I can implement it. Like, yeah, I'm
yes.
pretty clear on that.
Okay, great. So now let's move to session 6.
Only the thing is the
Okay.
syntax, and the syntax is
Yeah.
pretty straightforward, right? Hey, either you look the syntax through your demo, or if
Hmm.
you need a little more thing, go to the documentation. Terraform
IO, Terraform registry IO, there easily you'll
IO
find
should
everything.
have all this documentation. All you need is get your requirements and
Yeah.
filter
Basically,
it
most
best.
important thing is you where you apply what.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's where I am mostly even focusing on. Yeah, and you see when you are reading a code, if you know what each code is doing, it's easy to map your mind, right? So see, sometimes where I struck, I told you like couple of places, and then yeah, I think you cleared me those. Yeah, pretty good.
Okay, so now today's agenda, what we have, I don't know, we'll be able to cover up everything today, but still, this is an important thing, interesting thing. I'll show you something called as provisioners in Terraform. Okay, and then we would look one of the possible project structures. Okay, you which we can use, basically the concept of modeling and all. Okay, and we have the demo for these. And then Anand, what from starting from tomorrow, what we would be doing is, I think we have covered all the individual concepts. Starting from the next session, will be selecting some of the important AWS resources which are widely used. Okay, and we'll get into provisioning them using Terraform. Okay, for example, VPC subnet and an EC2 within them. Okay, we'll see RDS provisioning, database and all. We have never talked till today. Okay, most of the concepts what I have done is I have shown you with so I have selected 2 3 easy resources which will clarify the concepts easily, and I have gone by that. Now, as this is Terraform on AWS, now we'll dive a bit into the AWS resources, okay, which are the most commonly used resources. Okay, as I said, VPC, subnet, and within that EC2, security groups and all will be covered in that. We'll see RDS, database creation. Okay, and then I'll also look into let's say load balancers, and we can look into S3 bucket. We have very widely used in these, so I'll leave the S3 bucket. uh, then we can go to I would say auto scaling concepts. Okay,
Yeah,
using Terraform and all. So once
IAM
these are,
permissions, right? Is it
yes,
something?
yes, I am will use, I am also will look into it.
Yeah,
So once these things are done, okay, then uh, again we'll try to create a small web project kind of thing. Okay, where we'll provision everything and we'll see the entire project gets deployed and all. Okay, and then the training portion would be closed. Then we can schedule your use cases. Like from
yeah,
my side, all the deliveries would be done after that. Okay,
cool,
then we can
cool.
do the other part, the use case part which we had discussed. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's see now. Let's get into, okay, before that I had
So this
provision.
provisioners is nothing but having like a different provisions like a Google Cloud, multi-cloud, right? Is
No,
something
no, no,
like
no, 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 it's not like that. I'll tell you
oh,
one
okay,
second.
okay, because
It's
there we
another
use
interesting concept. It's another interesting concept.
okay
Okay.
provisioners. Okay, okay,
Okay, now when you provision a resource, okay, when you provision a resource, it's not like that we provision a resource and our job is done, right? We do certain software installations, we execute certain scripts, all these things also happen. Maybe you are not getting these kind of things. Maybe your requirement is only limited up to managing the
infrastructure.
resources,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Hmm.
Terraform also can run scripts and all. So
Yep.
basically I would
Yep, yep.
say some
I,
people use Terraform.
yeah, I know very brief, but I know we are
Yeah.
going. This is something like hey, after provisioning a resource, like I
Yes,
want to execute some of the commands, like hey, install RPM, and do some Linux kind of scripting.
correct,
Then yeah,
correct.
yeah, yeah, cool.
Okay,
Yeah, but I
so
love to hear, but I know little bit. Yeah,
Yeah, fine. We'll look into this. We'll look into this. This will be uh, this will be
Yeah,
an interesting thing to see. Okay.
yeah.
So what happens is, yeah, so
Because
we
this is
can
very key also, right? Hey, you install, okay, you did the provisioning, then what, like same as our batch scripting, whatever it is in the Windows, right?
correct.
Hey, you do like, once you did this, what next, right? So
Yeah,
here we are talking about what next after setting up a resource.
correct.
If you want to do something else, so this is like, file functions, yeah. But cool,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So uh, so what it does is basically it will help you to perform certain actions after the resource has been provisioned. Okay. As an example, you can see some scripts being executed. Okay. So either you directly pass on the commands to be done, or what you can do is, if it is a Unix box, you can have a shell script which is checked in somewhere in Git. So what you can do is you can download that, okay, and you can execute that. Give the .sh command, the entire script would be executed. Those kind of things can be done. Okay, but ideally this should be the last resort, okay, in Terraform, only if the AWS resource itself doesn't provide you any means to execute something on them, then only you should use this one. For example, I'll tell you, in a EC2 box, there is something called as a user script. You heard of that?
No,
So so what happens is, when you provision one EC2 box, okay,
like a
you will
bootstrap,
have
like in the
kind of
EMR.
kind of kind of it's
Kind
kind
of,
of a
okay.
bootstrap only. Yeah. So
Okay.
when you provision a resource, you can write certain user scripts over there. Okay, when the EC2 box comes up, automatically the first thing it is going to do is, it is going to write it's going to execute those user scripts. Okay, so whatever written in user scripts, let's say yum update or anything for a Linux system, those things would be done. Okay, so now if anyhow you feel, no, I should not be using user scripts, rather I would go with remote execution, then you can use a remote provisioners in Terraform. For example, let's say you have 10 shell scripts which you have checked in somewhere in Git. Okay, now you don't want to pass those things in your user scripts in EC2. One, they become very heavy, like there will be a lot of scripts and all which you want to execute, they would become very heavy or something. In those kind of cases, instead of going for user script in your Terraform, you can go ahead with provisioners. You can just download those scripts and you can give a sh command to execute them. Okay, so basically we will have two different types of executioners provisioners. Okay, one is called as a local exec, other is called as a remote exec. And as the name suggests, local exec would be executing on the same server where the Terraform is running.
Yeah.
Okay, remote exec would be executed on some remote server, and here my remote server can be an EC2 instance which has been provisioned by Terraform. Okay, if my Terraform is running on server A, okay, and I have a configuration which will provision me an EC2 instance by the name server B. If I have a local exec, that code would be executed on server A where
Yeah.
my Terraform code is running. If I have a remote exec using that, I can execute certain script in server B, which has recently been provisioned.
Okay. 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 This sounds good to me. Like something, if you want to, after um, setting up, like let's say not setting up, after you procure a resource, if you still wants to execute some of the commands outside of that resource, then we use a local exec. Like, hey, still you want to run, whether the resource is up or not, you want to check, like you want to see the wait time, those kind of, just I'm telling examples, like those are like a local exec. Still you're outside of the box, you're executing.
Mm,
But the remote exec, once you procure that resource, you want to log in and whatever you want to execute within that, like B, whatever you said, right?
Mm.
So that is where the remote exec comes into the picture.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, but I
So
think this is very interesting. Yeah, because
one more
sometimes, yeah,
one more example I'll tell you. For example, let's say there are many times where you run a combination of uh, configuration softwares and all. Let's say you are running Terraform. In parallel to that, let's say you are running Ansible or something, and you provision one EC2 instance, and you need certain properties written to a text file on your Terraform box, where also in parallel Ansible or something is written, and this text file needs to be input to your Ansible. So these are the cases where what you can do is you can run local exec. Okay,
okay,
you do something and the return value and all you just put it into a text file. Okay, it will create a text file on your local system.
yeah,
Fine.
yeah,
So that's local exec and remote exec. Okay, now let's see the demo for them, the local exec and remote exec.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I'll start with the local one.
yeah,
This is going to be six.
yeah. Next class, like, give me the like a course uh, content and the timing, like when we are going to um, plan up on each day and when are we going to wrap up. That way, I can plan my schedule too.
Yeah, okay, fine. I'll
Yeah,
do that. I think uh, I don't I think this today we'll be able to complete the demo of provisioners. Okay, because the remote
yeah,
exec is going to take a long time, because that will include the concept of, yeah, sorry, okay, fine, yeah, that will include the concept of SSH and all. So that's going to take a little long time. So today we'll complete these. Okay,
yeah,
tomorrow we'll start with the project structure. Okay,
yeah,
project
yeah.
structure, one example structure, and also I'll start, I think we can start with some of the AWS resources tomorrow, and
Yep,
maybe 2 3 sessions would be AWS resources only, because there will be some important resources we'll discuss, and
yeah.
then maybe 2 odd sessions for web kind of project we'll do. We can
No
wrap
problem.
up that
Yeah,
maybe
yeah, yeah.
4 5 more sessions, and we will be done with this. Okay, but
Excellent. Yeah,
I'll give you the
yeah,
exact
yeah. That way we
outline
can
of,
plan.
yeah,
Wherever we can
tomorrow.
stretch a little bit, we can stretch and we can do it also. Yeah, I just want to, yeah, get some timelines. That way we are good. Yeah.
Yeah, so tomorrow we can, I'll give you that. Okay,
So, cool.
cool. So we were looking at the local provisioners, right? Session 6 I did, no? Session 6.
Because sometimes my schedule, as you know, once you go to the projects, it's a very tough decision to, sometimes it starts in the morning. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't start at all until 11 a.m. my morning. So, yeah, because every day is, challenging day.
Yeah,
Because I work from home, right? So sometimes we set it up like early morning meetings. Yeah.
now take a look at the ec2.t. Okay, everything remains same. Only I'm going to show you the local executioner. Okay, so within the resource block ec2, okay, I am going to write a provisioner block. Okay, and the type I'm going to make it local exec. So it is going to run on the same system where I would have my Terraform running. So now exactly at this point of time, my Terraform is running on my personal laptop, personal computer. Okay, so this is the server which is running Terraform. And so whatever I have written here as a command where whatever instance would be created, the ID of that instance should be written to a text file. Okay, ec2.txt, and the public IP of that instance should be written into ec2.txt file. Okay, so this should create a ec2.txt file on my local, and there it should put in the instance ID and the public IP. Correct?
Yeah.
So now let's just instantiate this cmd. So here, let's say everything looks good for us. We have a security group created.
Yeah, yet I
We
didn't
have
take a
one.
booster shot. I don't know if I take that, I'm going to get sick. So just waiting for it.
Yeah, people say that they're getting sick, but I
Yeah.
don't know what is the advisory in US. India, it is like after 9 months of second dose only you are supposed
Oh,
to take
here
the
it is
booster.
sixth. It's people are
Okay,
already taken. I'm just waiting for it.
here you see, um, EBS blocks is done.
Yeah, that
Okay, we have
ID.
one EC2. All the
Yeah,
things are there. Now let's just apply it, because unless and until we apply, we are not going to get our uh,
the output of the
yes,
file, right? Because it has to get the ID. Then ID need to
correct.
be set it up. Store it in a
Terraform
file.
apply. Okay, we have three resources created. Now if you see here, I have got a EC2 txt file created. Okay, now let me open that. You have the ID of the instance and you have the public IP created here. Now console, I'll go to EC2. Okay, I have instance running here. Okay, I have one instance running. My public IP is 393.152.136, which is which is captured here. The
Yeah.
instance ID ends with F88 and the instance ID ends with F88. Okay,
Yeah.
so my local thing is done now successfully. Okay, my local provisioner. Okay, now we'll look into the remote provisioner. Okay, so for remote provisioner, one of the important thing needed is how do you connect to the remote provisioner. Okay, you are going to run certain scripts on the remote system, and remote system you need to authenticate inside that, right? You need to um, have a key file or something which will help you to
Correct.
uh, create that, right? So till today we never entered inside any EC2 box, whatever demo we had, so we never used the concept of a key. Okay, so now we are going to use the concept of key. Okay, you know how to create a public private key.
Yes. The PEM files,
So
right?
yeah, the PEM files, the PEM file will
Yeah.
have a public and private key. So there are certain Linux commands which you can create, use them to use to create them. Okay,
Correct.
you can have a key file created by AWS itself. Okay, and or else you can have a key file created by your Puttigen. Okay,
Right.
so I would use AWS to create one. Okay, let me do that. Okay, okay, my all resources are destroyed. So now let's go back here. I'll take you here. Let's see. There are key pairs. So what I did is I created a TF demo 2. Okay, let me do it again. Let me do it again. Let me delete this, delete.
Yeah, I have
Okay,
the biggest confusion in AWS is that assume roles, so that is where I'm trying to read a little bit documentation. I know how to
okay.
assign a role to the user, right? Then now there is an assume role concept. So
STS, assume STS. That's yeah.
yeah, that's
Assume.
still, we use very frequently. I didn't get catch up yet. Yeah.
So
See, some of the things,
do a
yeah,
little reading on IAM concepts. You'll
yep,
get that.
yeah,
Assume roles. Okay, fine. So now let me create a key TF demo RSA, and what I will do is I'll create a PEM file. Okay, PEM file contains both public and private key. So that's done. Let me download it. Okay, I have this tf demo.pem. Session 6, right? Tools, doing session 6. Let me place it here itself. session6 demo.pem. Okay, so I'll use a puttygen to create a public and private key out of it. Okay, let me load this key which I've downloaded from AWS tools session6 .pem tfdemo.pem open. So I'll save the public key first. Okay, by the name same tfdemo.pub.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have two tfdemo pem, tfdemo pub. I'll do one more thing. Tfdemo pem itself is a public key, but .pem cannot be used with putty. We have to convert it into .ppk. So what
Yeah.
I will do is I'll also create a .ppk for putty. Yes. So the name would be tfdemo itself. This name tfdemo.ppk. Okay.
Okay.
So you see I
PPK
have
was
three
mentioned,
files
did you
here.
type it? Okay. Yeah.
Sorry?
No,
Yeah.
I thought like you missed the .ppk extension, but yeah.
No, it will come up. It was there. Type.
Oh,
So tfdemo ppk is there, tfdemo pem is there, tfdemo pub is there. Okay, public, private, and private in ppk format for putty. Three things I have. So now let's do one thing. I'll just change my now. See what we will do is couple of things. Okay. First, let me show. We would create a key. Okay, we'll create a key file in resource. Okay, so I have I'll be using my public key, whatever I have created now, to create a AWS key pair resource. Okay, that
yeah.
resource I'll be using in my EC2. Now in my EC2, everything, these all things you are aware. Only this thing comes additional key name. So my key name is key pair dot, this is the name is tfdemo3 key name. Okay, so wait, to avoid confusion, let me make it tfdemo1 where name tfdemo1. Okay, key name tfdemo1 file is tfdemo.pub. Okay, so now I'm going to create a key pair. I am changing the names so that you understand the things. Okay, so I am going to create a key pair resource. My resource name is tfdemo1. Okay, my key name is tfdemo1. Okay, but I am going to use a file which I have created by the name tfdemo. Okay, so this file which we created, right, the
Yeah.
tfdemo file,
Yeah.
for my for the ease of the session, I downloaded it from AWS. Okay, but
Yeah.
what you can do is you can generate your own key. Okay, I downloaded from AWS. That's why I already have a name tfdemo in AWS. Okay, that's why the key pair resource which I'm going to create using a public key. Okay, I have given the name tfdemo1. Okay, because tfdemo is already existing. So here if you see, if I open my puttygen, okay, without downloading from AWS itself, I can generate a key pair.
Yeah.
Okay, right, move your mouse, they would generate. Okay, it's a RSA key. Okay, and I can save the public key, I can save the private key, I can convert it into .pub, anything, whatever
Mhm.
we did. All these things we can do. Okay,
Yeah.
so what I did is, you imagine like this tape, whatever I am showing here, I did the exact thing and I got that tfdemo.pub. Okay, for the time being, forget that tfdemo.pub was downloaded from AWS.
Okay.
Okay, it
Yeah.
was generated using puttygen, or let's say in Linux you generated that. Now,
Yeah.
once this has been generated, now you need to put it into AWS. Now you have to create a AWS key pair resource.
Yeah.
Okay, and that key pair, you have to use it in your EC2. Okay, so here I'm using a AWS key pair resource. I am naming the resource as demo1. Okay, and I'm using which file to create it? The public key file tfdemo.pub, which I have downloaded. Got it?
Yeah.
So my key pair resource is created here. Then in EC2, I'm going to use key name. I'm going to use yeah, key name. Okay, my key name would be AWS key pair, this particular resource tfdemo1 dot key name that I'm going to use. So it will take the public key and put it in the EC2 once the EC2 is created.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now rest remains same web. Okay, I still have the local provisioner which I had in the previous demo. I'll keep it.
Yeah.
Okay, for the time being, because I'm going to share this file, you will get both local and remote in the same file. Okay, so now this resource we covered. Now every time a provisioner needs to be associated with a resource, a provisioner cannot is not a it cannot be run independently.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll show you an interesting thing. Okay, so this provisioner block which I wrote, right? Okay, I can take it and I can directly put it in my resource here. Okay,
Right.
it can
Okay.
run within the resource, but I'll not do
So,
that.
okay.
I'll introduce you to a new concept called as a null resource.
Okay.
Okay, what is a null resource? Null resource in Terraform is something which is a type of resource which does nothing.
Okay. Okay.
It gets executed,
Mm.
but it will not create any entity for you.
Mm.
This is useful in these kind of scenarios where you have a block of code to be executed with a resource, but ideally the resource is already existing. You don't need to do anything on a resource provisioning side. For these
Mm.
kind of use cases, the null resource helps. So here we are going to use the null resource.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
fine.
I heard there is something called a dummy block. I forgot which programming I
Yes, this
used. That
is
dummy was very powerful. I forgot which is it. I don't know because
no,
I
no,
learned various scripting language.
dummy, dummy is almost everywhere. I don't know if you have ever done ETL. In ETL,
Yeah,
dummy is a very useful thing.
right.
ETL
But
scripting
where
and all.
exactly? Which scripting language? Do you know which we use? Like I forgot, man. Yes, dummy.
I
We
have
use
used
like
extensively dummy in ETL scripts. There was a when we used to write ETL scripts, we used to do dummy. Every time we have a if else condition,
yep,
if you have to check something when else is there, and else is basically you never expect the else to happen, then we
yeah.
put a dummy there. That will
Okay,
be very
I think
useful.
yeah, that's one. I know one. That's what see. Somewhere in NiFi or somewhere in our some flows we use like a dummy operator that was very powerful than any other operators because that's very useful. When it doesn't know what to do, it goes to the dummy. So and the dummy was very centric. I forgot, but
Yeah.
I will let you know when I use. But I think I'm just correlating something like. Okay.
Okay. So null resource is something, yeah, I told you what. Now let's see when this null resource will be triggered. Okay. So now null resource is not related with any other resource. So we have to give a trigger point when it should trigger.
Okay.
So what I have done is when the AWS instance, the above instance, public IP is created, that should be the trigger.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, when
Public
you get
IP.
this value, then only it should be triggered. Because unless and until you have a public IP created, there is no way you can connect to a box, right?
Yep.
So public IP will be associated only after your instance has been provisioned. It will be associated with the public IP. So here
Right.
we are trying to get inside the instance and write something. So for that, the prior condition is the instance should be up and running. So that can be confirmed once you have the public IP. So my trigger point for the null resource is public IP. Now
Yep.
second block is connection. How do you connect? Where do you connect to? Okay, what do you connect to? So my host is the above instance, okay, dot instance name dot the public IP of the instance. Okay, that's my host. Okay, where I want to connect. Authentication, how will it happen?
Again, the it's an file within the server, like
No,
A. Like,
we we use the public key of TF demo to
yeah.
create the web instance. So I need the corresponding private key to connect to that instance. So this
Yeah.
time I would need a private key file and we created tfdemo.pem as the private
Yeah.
key,
Yeah.
right? So that I'm going to use. Now, which user you will be using? Basically, if you see, if you go with a Linux AMI, Amazon Machine AMI, or a Red Hat Linux AMI, you usually go for EC2 user. But in case you have
Correct.
a Ubuntu UMI, your login user is Ubuntu. So
Yeah.
accordingly, you'll use. I am using a, uh Linux
Correct.
Amazon
Like
Machine 2
default
AMI,
user.
so I'll be
So
using
you will,
EC2
yeah.
user.
Yeah.
Okay. So next is the provisioner. Okay. Here you see my type of provisioner is remote exec. Okay, it's not local exec, it's remote exec.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And inline is the set of command which you want to pass. This is a list of commands, comma separated list. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm trying to make a directory. Okay, I'm
And
trying
then
to
you're creating a file.
put a text file and I'm trying to change the permission of the text file to 777.
Hmm.
Okay,
So when you
so
say
instead of
VI, so does it automatically opens and closes everything it does instead of
yeah,
touch?
it will do that, right? It will
Okay,
write,
very
it will create a file. It will, if you, it will create it, it will save it, and
closes.
then yeah, it does that, like touch it
Very good.
itself.
Very good.
So then you have changed the permissions to 7 highest level.
Alright,
Okay, so
alright.
that's
No,
what
this
I'm
is
trying to do.
awesome. So this is basically something like, if you create an instance, if you want to execute some commands on that instance, like, copy a file, or you
Yeah.
want to do certain operations within that new resource, then the null resource, what it's going to do, it checks whether that whatever the trigger point valid. If it is valid, then only it's going to go to that connection and it execute the set of things, right?
Yes. Yes.
um
Correct.
yeah, 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 this is very interesting.
Okay.
So it's
So
only
here,
one time.
yeah. Sorry.
It's only one time it checks, like
No,
I create
I
like
showed you, right? No, no. See, there are provisioners. Okay, that's why I have put these things. One provisioner, you have one command. Okay, you can have multiple provisioners.
one
Okay,
provision
similarly,
or
you can
one
have
command.
one more block. But again, why do you need that? Because
Right.
inline is a list of commands. So I'm
Yeah.
passing multiple commands here. It's not one command,
Okay.
multiple commands in a comma separated way. Or there is another way how you can do is instead of using
See,
inline, you can
now
also use a
now I want to say, if test.txt already exists, then don't create that file. I want to do it again. What you're saying is go to your Unix skills and do that within inline.
Which one? Text.txt. This one?
No, the
ec2.txt one.
test.txt within the last line number 31.
Yeah.
Instead of creating a file, if the file, anyway, it's a new resource. The
It's a
file
new,
never
yeah,
be
it's a new
exist.
resource. There
Is
will
that
not be.
some?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
Okay.
this will be executed one time. Is it correct? The null resource?
Yeah, this will be executed one time only.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want this one to be executed multiple times, again you will have to put in your loop logic and everything.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay. You can
So
you can
now
you
can I
can
simply
try.
say count equals to 2 and I can use like a test the count index here, test.txt. Instead of that, I can use the count index. Does it work or it is not part of null resource?
Text.txt.
I mean,
Okay, null resource count. I think it should work.
it should work.
It should
Okay.
work here. So what will happen is as soon as the IP is created, it is going to, yeah, it's going to create mkdir. Okay, this will fail because the mkdir is part of this one. So when the first command executes, there is a mkdir this. When the second command executes, again it will try to do a mkdir this, and it will fail with saying that the directory already exists.
Uh,
Okay, so I think you can change the name here also. You can change
yeah.
the name here also. You can
Same the
add
count
the
index,
depth.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same count thing you can use here, and then you can give it a shot.
Yep. Yep. No, no, sounds good. As long as
So let me.
it is part of this, it's not like, count cannot be used in null resource. There are no such restrictions. It
No, no,
is
no,
just
no,
an,
no, no,
yeah.
no. Unless and if you have the exact resource block to be repeated, okay, and you have wherever there is a small change needed, you use the index as a name or something, then I think it should work fine.
Yep, yep, yep. Sounds good.
Okay,
Sounds good.
so now we have this, we have the remote one. Let me, I don't think we need a init here. We can directly run it. Okay, so let's go ahead with Terraform plan to see if there is any mistake.
Your your top screen, I cannot see it. The line you are typing, maybe you need to just minimize it a little bit.
Can you
Yeah,
see
that's
now?
it. Yeah.
Okay, inconsistent dependency log file, the following dependencies selection.
No version is selected. Okay, you need to select the version there because maybe version greater than.
Terraform init upgrade. Okay, let me run the Terraform init again.
Yeah, use NiFi the streaming for an year and then like
The
2000.
repository. Keep your tfdemo3 public key file tfdemo2.pub. We don't have a tfdemo2.
Okay. Somewhere the 2 and 3 got confused a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I have AWS key pair
TFDemo1.
tfdemo1 dot key. I have tfdemo1 dot key where I'm using public. tfdemo dot pub, tfdemo2 dot pub where I'm using it.
I think it is talking about when you create and resource TFDemo3.
Invalid value for path demo file exists.
Typical file of TFDemo2.pub. You remember you change the names and
Yeah,
then
that's what I'm
yeah, where it is
public key equals to file tfdemo2 dot pub, public key equals to public key.
tfdemo2.pub.
Didn't I save? Okay, I didn't save the file. Okay, that's the problem. Terraform plan. It should work out now. Okay. Yep. So here we have everything. Let's go ahead and Terraform. Okay, before that, let me delete these files. This file was created last time. It will be created again. So let me just delete it. And Terraform apply.
So basically, the local and remote is whether you want to execute outside of the new box or you want to execute within the new box, right?
Now, whether you want to execute in the server where Terraform is running or you want to execute somewhere else. The
Oh,
server where the Terraform is running, that becomes a local for the Terraform, right?
yeah, yeah,
So for me now, this Terraform is running on my Windows system, which I'm showing you. So
yeah,
that's why the file is getting created on my local desktop.
yeah,
Okay. So remote is anywhere outside. Now you provision a EC2, you are running on that EC2. It's a remote. If some EC2 is existing and you want to run on that, that's also a remote.
yeah. Okay. So this is something like apart from the infrastructure as a code, this is something like do beyond that. I don't know, like creating an applications after creating an
Correct,
infrastructure. Yeah, yeah.
correct. So we say deployment can be a infrastructure deployment as well as a application deployment, right? So this
Correct, like a
goes
code
together.
deployment. Let's put that right.
Yeah. So see here,
Yeah,
using our
yeah,
public private key, the connection was successful with the remote host.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. We are using this in our, at least in my code, because we are not, we are purely on infrastructure. And this is my, half of my, support in the project. So that's the reason I just want to get a little bit of hands-on, because my team is there. They do, but sometimes if I don't know, as you mentioned, we cannot take the right step, right? So I want to be a little bit learn all those features, learnings. Yeah, it's a good one.
EC2 is created. So it has the new public IP. This is the new instance which has got created. Okay. Maybe the VI has some issue. I'll see that. Give me a moment. So let's try to connect to that instance. T. Okay. Depth public IP. In season 6, the file tf demo ppk. Okay, we have the remote test thing. The directory is created. You can see this, right?
Yeah.
Remote provisioner. Okay, so what has happened is you pointed out the right thing. VI has opened it, it hasn't closed it.
Yeah.
That's why this got stuck. Anyways, our thing is
Yeah,
done.
that should work. Yeah, just in case. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Our thing is done. This is working. Only thing is that didn't get created.
Yeah.
Sorry, that didn't get closed. Okay, the null
Yeah.
resource didn't get closed. Okay, so it's done. So let me destroy it. Okay, I think we are at the end of today's agenda. It's already
Yep.
8:15.
Yep.
Okay, so
Yep.
this remains, the project structure remains. Okay.
Okay.
One small good project structure, will do it in the next class.
Okay.
Okay, and then followed by the AWS resource. We'll get into the major resources, certain resources. Then we'll do one more project, and then we'll close. The training would be over
Yeah.
then.
Perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
fine,
Yeah.
Anand. Have a
Hey, thank you
good
very
day
much.
ahead.
And when you get chance, upload, all these things. Let me try to
Yeah, yeah,
see.
I'll do that.
I never want to make my hands dirty because that will take a lot of time, man. I don't know where I can spend my family time. Because
Yeah,
once it starts like you see, as you type your is very simple, right? If I go and set up the party and do that, it takes an
hmm.
hour. So because
Yeah, it
see,
will, it will.
that is where
So
I don't want to.
for me also, if I do something new, it will take time. What I'm doing is I don't want to see,
Correct.
I don't want to, as I told you, I don't want to keep typing things in front of you and waste your time. That's why I have
Correct.
everything ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that we don't, we run into minimum number of trouble as possible. I don't want to
Correct.
waste time
Correct. And
debugging
then,
during the session.
say, and once you know remote exec, you don't have to prove that by hands dirty, but you know the concept. If something
Yeah,
that comes up in the project, then go ahead and work on it, right?
use it.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking of. As long as I able to connect to AWS, spin up my S3, spin up my EC2, I'm done. My at least local setup is done. So the rest is, I can do it on need basis. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I'm relating
Yeah,
to this code to my project. So as I told you already, right? Because we use something called like the data blocks frequently, and we use like a
yeah.
conditions. Those are very much
Uh-huh.
I need to understand when they use condition, and if I want to change the code, uh, what is the better way of writing it. So I'm just relating all those concepts in my code. Yeah,
Yeah.
but so far it's very interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing much questions. Looks good to me.
Yeah, I try to keep it as simple as possible so that
Yeah,
from a
that's
concept
exactly
wise
we
you
need
have
it.
a very
Yeah,
good
because
start.
too complicated doesn't make any difference, right? Because then what? You solve one problem very critical which you never get in. But as long as you get a concept, that would be more useful.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm
Okay.
relating to all my code and getting how the see this is not I written, right? Somebody has written like years back. I just jumped in. I need to understand
Yeah.
their folder structure, concepts, how they're using variables, where they are calling
Yes.
variables. And some of the, 30 to 40% of the code is like obsolete code. They never used it. They just
Mhm.
declare some variables, they never used it. Who knows, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that
But
what they do is with a vision of those variables being used in future, they declare those
yep,
variables.
right, right. That's what I'm
Okay.
trying to
They
get into
haven't used
that
it
and
now,
see.
but have, they think that in future somebody may use those variables. Why to reconfigure the things again? So they put
Right.
the variable. But sometimes what happens is that future never comes, at least not in the near future.
Right, right. Yeah, there will be like in hundreds of variables, and when I see the confusion was variable, the list map and all. How do they declare? Because I never declared the list variable. So here, I don't know why they declared list for something. Then you answered me. If the AWS is expecting a list, then you have to declare it as a list, right?
Correct.
Um,
Yes.
you need certain parameters. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
yeah.
cool. I learned something,
Okay,
but not
fine.
complete. Cool, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a good day ahead.
Hey, thank you. And
Okay,
yeah,
we'll
upload
catch up
this
tomorrow
code
then.
and whatever you want to do the
Yeah, yeah,
needful, just do that.
yeah,
That way, because today is holiday to me, I can look into that.
yeah. Fine.
And
I'll
it's
drop
holiday
them
for
an
you also?
email. So no, it's not a holiday. Actually, I'm on vacation. It's not
Oh, okay.
holiday for me. It's working day at my
Okay.
office,
Okay.
but I'm on vacation. I came to my hometown, so I
Very
just
good.
have taken couple of days off. Okay.
Cool.
So I'll send them an email.
Yeah.
Let me see when they upload that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then why can't you take your morning if you want to and my evening?
Let's
If
see.
I don't know whether if you want to text me, hey Anand, I'm available. Let me know if you are available. Something like that. If you want to make it, I'm still good, but I don't want to rush anything. Yeah,
No,
it's
no,
up to
it's
you.
fine. Like
Yeah,
we can this week we can do 1 or 2 days like that. I'll tell you.
perfect. Yeah, because I
Uh,
want to enjoy your vacation too. So don't take it anything like if something you're going somewhere, you can just text me through that support channel. So I will get an update. So
okay, 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 fine. We'll do that. Fine.
perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thanks a
much.
lot. Thank you.
Hmm?
Catch up
Okay.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Bye.